Nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm happy that you decided to have me let you join me because this is an honor right now to have someone. So I want to mention I did see your earlier video today with Son of a Tech.
Yeah.
Great channel, great guy, awesome content. And so obviously whoever's going to be watching this for the most part will probably have already seen that. Right.
Oh, really?
So well, I would figure. I mean, his sub count's a lot more than mine. Okay.
I don't know how any of this works, man. I'm totally so new to this space.
So I want to. All right. So one thing I wanted to go into was obviously you've been blessed by the Chia gods, right?
I guess so.
And you wanted to create this kind of blog, a vlog or whatever you want to call it, right? And kind of just document your whole journey with Chia, right? Is that pretty much what it was?
Yes.
So
basically, yeah.
So what exactly happened? Why all of a sudden after you created this website and you put up information, someone came after you? How'd that happen?
Well, so okay. They recently backed down from all this, right? And in that letter, they put a reason for it, which is anyway. So they said that they respected the First Amendment. They never wanted to interfere with anybody just blogging. And they weren't sure that maybe I was going to be some sort of scammer or selling services or something like that.
Okay, so they basically had no idea what you were planning to do.
And then so they think, and I don't know, this is something that I haven't mentioned anywhere else, but so they have my blog on their trademark page as like an inappropriate domain. So if you like go to their terms page,
it's you and two other sites.
Yeah,
that
one of which exists and one of which is held by a domain holder.
Right, because I clicked on all three, and it did lead back to wherever it needed to be.
So somebody wrote that document without like buying those domains and checking it. And I think a lot of this is just like they didn't really know how to do this stuff as a big company.
Well, it's kind of hard, right?
It is really hard. You need lots of people and it takes like expertise and people that have done this before. So I think that they're doing stuff like putting out these terms, and they came up with these 3 sites that they wouldn't like. And then they wrote it in, and I happened to pick one. I didn't look at that or anything like that. I was just like, haha, the Chia plot.
It couldn't be those 3 specifically prior to knowing that you existed?
I don't know. I don't know the times. I went and checked the Wayback Machine or whatever, but it wasn't in there. The first time they tweeted it out was after they'd already threatened me. Okay. So it's possible that they added it in there after they sent me the letter.
That's what I was trying to figure.
Petty.
I saw the document. It was a PDF file.
Yeah.
And I tried to look for a timestamp on it.
No, yeah.
And it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So the first mention of it is the 28th, which is after they sent me the first.
And I'm sure their team of elite engineers were able to craft that where it wouldn't have a timestamp.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So there's no way to know, and they'll never say. And maybe they will say.
But you know what's more interesting is that after this whole thing, I read your article and I read the whole situation, and I went to go look at the trademarks. There is a company called the Original Chia.
Yeah, Joseph Enterprises.
Right. So
and they've actually sued over this word before.
Oh my goodness.
So they sued Neopets, had like a Chia thing, I guess, back.
But because
80s, it was software, they didn't have anything, right? So it was Chia sued Neopets or something like that, and they lost because it was a common word.
Right.
So this is why this whole thing's been funny. It's like being like threatened over IP infringement by the guy that created BitTorrent is like,
that's an honor.
It's chef's kiss, right? Like it's just
I would have been happy. I was like, oh
me
my
too.
Goodness.
Well, okay. So I started this never intending it for it to like actually be a thing or anything, right? Like it was a project to build an AWS server and harden it. And I was doing it for work.
So you mentioned that you are a security expert in the AWS area?
No, not in AWS, more in the Microsoft space, but I like do cloud, so I have to stay current. And I was doing some Docker stuff, so I wanted to harden a Docker image and do all that process.
Got it.
Of what it would look like to harden one of these sites, which, by the way, in the crypto space is crazy. I'm getting like DDoS like 3 times a week. There's like people attacking my login name all the time, like constantly.
Wow. So everything that you're doing in regards
to upgrade to Cloudflare Pro so that I could,
right. Wow. Sorry,
go ahead.
That's crazy. No, but what I want to ask you was, so everything that you're doing in regards to Chia, because it's a cryptocurrency, does that obviously, I don't know if it does or not, but it doesn't impact your work, like policies within work, or there's no regulations?
No. I just can't involve the two. Like it's not a.
It's just two separate things.
Yeah, they're two separate things. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Because you mentioned that you were getting familiar with AWS, and that's why you decided to go into the Chia route. So
just because I needed to build something. You know what I mean? To go through the process, like so some sort of web service.
Right.
So I decided to build a little WordPress site.
So
and then I was getting into farming, and that's actually why I like your guys' videos, like you and Son of a Tech, is because so the reason I started this is because so many, like you go on the Chia Reddit thing or whatever, the subreddit, and nobody knows what they're doing. Like there's like at all. And then I find these like YouTubers like you and Son of a Tech, and you guys are going through this farming stuff, and it's mundane, and you guys are correct. And like it's so bizarre that there's like these two different worlds. And so I was trying to just write some stuff about this, like people freaking out about their SSDs because they're approaching their TBW, and it's like, man, they don't just burst into flame when they hit this magic number. Like,
Although I do have a couple comments where people say that they already have finished end of life of a NVMe.
Oh yeah, so, especially if you don't trim.
Right.
So that was one of the things that I put in there, right? If you don't trim and it's doing garbage collection all the time. So when you try to write to a cell in NAND flash and it already has data, what it has to do is it has to like pull that data out into a different place, destroy it. And it uses like a high charge, like a high energy charge to destroy that data. And then it has to write it all back, even if you're just making some little change. And it does that even if the data has been marked deleted in the operating system, but hasn't gone through like a trim and garbage collection process on the SSD. So if you're trimming constantly, then that data, when it's marked deleted and it goes to write at it, it's not going to bother doing that first step of moving the data to another NAND cell. So you save like a full write cycle. It's called write amplification. And I think
I'm learning as you're talking. I'm learning
and
more.
So this is like write amplification is something that they deal with in the enterprise a lot when you're doing like database changes all the time. And so you have to be constantly trimming drives like when you're dealing with SSDs. And this is an enterprise workload that like consumers have started doing at home. And there's and it's not that consumer devices are bad for this stuff. It's that people don't do the maintenance task. Like the maintenance piece of this is different for a Chia farm than it is for, you know, a home computer for sure, but even like a ETH mining rig or whatever else people are doing, like you know, that's all got different maintenance stuff. And I don't think people are used to storage. Like everybody's afraid of these giant like Chinese rooms that they're seeing on like Billy.
But it could just be someone else's bedroom.
Well, yeah, but
in China,
it's like they've got all these hard drives in these cases of sitting on like these card tables and stuff. And I don't know if you've ever you have like NASs and stuff. You talked about having like 150 terabytes or something. Yes. Like, have you ever had that your computer just starts shaking because all your disks are spinning? Well, and you have to go and touch it?
Never that bad.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have like hundreds and hundreds of disks spinning on a card table, it's just going to be sitting there trying to shake itself to death. And those drives aren't going to last more than a year. So like these people that are investing like millions of dollars into setting up petabytes and everything, they're not doing it properly. They're trying to cut every corner. And we're seeing like a massive explosion in that space right now because like storage hasn't started dying yet. But like, I've worked in data centers with like supercomputers and like actual like GPU farms and everything like that. You know what I've never had to do is change a GPU in one of those things. Like very rarely you have to call the vendor and have the warranty stuff done. Hard drives, we had a junior admin that had to go through the data center every day with a cart of hard drives, swapping them.
I mean, but for hard drives, that's more common in the data center.
Yeah, they're like a consumable.
I literally walked through my data center today, and you know, I had all this hardware that they were throwing away today that I can't even take because they need a certificate for the recycling. I wish I would have been able to plot so much more, but I want, you know, because of this. All right, so this whole legal thing is pretty much done.
Yeah, the legal thing is done. They boosted my site. Now it's getting traffic. When
it
before,
is. I mean, it's been getting traffic prior to that. Right?
A little bit because of that SSD article, right? So that was enough to like make me want to keep doing it, basically. So when they told me to shut it down, I was like, no.
Are you into comic books? I just want to ask you something. Are you into comic books?
Yeah, you can see
Yeah, so I see all that. So I want to go through this little segment with you. You know,
Sure,
remember
sure.
the spectacular Spider-Man called What If?
Yes.
You remember that, right?
Yes.
So what if Bram came to you prior to this whole legal action and said, "I'll give you 10 XCHs, take down the site." What would you do?
So had he offered me $20 for the website before they sent me that threat, I probably would have taken it. So I spent $17 on the domain. Well, like it would have been cool.
Wow.
Bram Cohen's like called me up and said, "You want to buy my site?"
But didn't you
cool.
release that site after the fact, after it went live on the first exchange?
Yeah.
Right. So so you knew that price was like at 1,600 a coin.
It was, and I mined 2. Like I farmed 2 out of my farm at like 1,500.
Congrats.
Yeah. So, yeah, and like so far this whole thing's been like, I like Chia. Like it's been so weird. Everybody's like,
so even with this whole tension that happened, you have no misunderstanding.
I think it's funny because like, so I had a really long conversation with Blind Run there, son of a tech, and he and I talked, and like it's very clear that he's much more skeptical about Chia than I am.
Yeah, his videos definitely show that. Yes.
And it's like, I kind of feel like this was a fan site, and I think that if you go and read, except for the trademark articles, like just about everything I've written has been positive, except for one thing, which was a thing about Bram Cohen's interview.
Yes,
which I thought was a little bit concerning.
It's he could come off a little, arrogant, I guess, in regards to responses sometimes.
I think that what it is that he's answering different questions, because I understood his answers. So when, like, this is way off topic, right? But like when Blind Run asked him about governance, and what he heard, and I know this for doing software architecture, is he was being asked about like software governance. Like, so when they need to commit a change to the blockchain, what is the process there? And he was like, well, we don't have like, it's going to be case by case basically. And when you don't say you're doing that and you're just making rules for the sake of making rules, he's not necessarily wrong when it comes to that. But what Blind Run was asking him was about like corporate governance, and like if you guys are going to make a policy change as it relates to this pre-farm.
It's very up in the air right now. I know a lot of people are very skeptical, and which is not a good thing, because a lot of these guys who are skeptical are the guys who would invest in this, which is the crypto guys.
That's right, and I think that's a huge mistake.
Right,
and I think that even by like the whole thing with me, like the whole situation, even though it's effectively a nothing burger, I think has put a lot of people that have a lot of money invested in this space, like very much,
right,
a little wary. Like they're not quite so ready to throw money in. And, with the whole market crashing down, like a bear market, right? It's, nobody wants to throw something in on like a long risk.
Right.
And
it's true.
I'm here just farming along. And I think that, like, I actually think the technology is pretty good. I can think of a couple of like real serious concerns I have with it, that I don't know are solvable, and I'm doing a little bit of an investigation into that.
Now, I went through your blog, and I don't think I really saw what your current status is in regards to your hardware and how. I guess you mentioned it, based on articles, but
you want to see
how many plot? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, let's. All right, this is like my workspace, so this is brutal, but let's see if I can. So that it is right there.
Okay, so that's doing both your farming and your plotting.
So that's a Rocket Lake i5.
Wow.
With 16 gigs of RAM. I've got 2 1 terabyte SN 750 blacks.
Are you still pushing out plots?
No, totally
and solo?
Done.
You're done. Okay.
Totally done. I've got 473 plots on 6 8 terabyte hard drives.
Okay.
And then like 20 more or something on a NAS.
Okay.
So like 450 on it, and then a bunch on my NAS that's sort of like.
And were you at any time? I know that you said that you won a block, right? So you have two XCHs.
Yeah.
Did you at any time wanted to take those plots and go over to these quote unquote unofficial pools?
No. So I can do math. So right, like, okay, so the lottery system, the way that Chia works, like, it doesn't really matter how big your space is. Like if you take it over a long enough period of time, like say 5 years or whatever,
right?
Like I saw you're like Chia 2025 thing that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
And like, I'm totally in that with you, by the way. Like that, I'm totally on board with that for you, because it's the same thing. It's that like the investment's made. It's not like mining Ethereum or something like that, where the GPU cost is quickly dwarfed by the power cost if you talk like over time. So, but the cost is sunk. I've actually well, not really now because the price has crashed, but whatever. We'll assume it's going to at some point go back up. Otherwise, this whole thing is pointless. But you know, I've already ROI'd. If I take it over 5 years, and even if the net pace continues to grow, I should be looking at like 18 XCH or something like that out of this rig over 5 years. And if I joined H pool, it would come quicker. It would be 16 over 5 years, or like 15 over 5 years. So it's, you know, if you're looking to cash in and like convert it right away and start day trading and stuff like that, I get it. I understand why some people might do that, because, you know, my money's sitting in a cold wallet, and it's going to continue to sit there until for a long time. But
that also defeats the whole purpose of having that coin. Right? Because, you know, they were talking about the color coins and breaking it up and using it as transaction.
So I have 25, like a quarter coin or whatever on each win going into a hot wallet, and the pool reward going into my cold wallet. And so I have 175 in my cold wallet right now, and I moved a quarter of it into an exchange, and I've been day trading it. And so I earned a quarter Bitcoin, or a quarter Chia into a half Chia. And
are you on any other crypto besides Chia at this moment?
No, I haven't had anything to do with crypto since there was nothing but Bitcoin. So I mined like a couple of Bitcoin on CPUs, like way back in the day when you could mine like full Bitcoins on CPUs.
So what you're saying, and what I'm hearing from you, is that you believe in Chia. And you still do, even after this whole situation.
Oh,
are there other crypto that you believe in that you would kind of invest in?
I don't even know. I'm just learning right now. So Blind Run gave me a couple to look into, and I've started reading about that. A lot of people that have approached me are very much against crypto, like in general, like philosophically. So like a lot of the people
my wife.
And whatever. And to be honest, I agree with most of their arguments, but I don't necessarily agree with their conclusion in terms of my own personal.
I think it's just people like the mass, you know, adoption of people just saying certain things, and then you just hear it, and then they kind of just repeat it.
Like I don't believe that there is any kind of money revolution coming from a blockchain or anything like that, because it's literally just a database that's dumb. Like it's just a bad database.
It is.
But like I also don't disagree that with like how it holds value and why it holds value and why people will trade it and stuff like that. And even if it's propped up with money laundering or whatever, that doesn't mean that I think that there's any moral problem with me going and farming some Chia and trading it.
So do you, all right. You don't know too much about the whole crypto area. Do you follow news of the crypto space?
I do. And especially as it relates to security, right? Like, so the colonial hack and stuff like that, I'm pretty well.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So what were your thoughts about the FBI being able to retrieve these Bitcoins? Or at least they claim...
Well, okay. So obviously they can track the blockchain very well. And I think that's like a ridiculous assumption that they wouldn't be able to. So as soon as you moved them into an exchange in the United States, you were done. Which is from what I can tell what happened. They moved it into an exchange in Northern California and they grabbed it right away. That would not take very long for them to figure out. Likely minutes to get a warrant. And then once there's a warrant and you're in the financial crimes, they seize it and then do the investigation. That's the law.
So these Bitcoins going into an exchange, which is, I would say, majority of us, is the same way.
Do you know who Marcus Hitchens is?
No.
Okay, so he's Malwarebytes on Twitter. He's like a famous malware researcher. So he did a YouTube video about this. I'm going to send it to you after that. You should watch about it. But it's really about the argument about getting rid of Bitcoin to get rid of ransomware. But it talks about this a little bit, right? That the way that was done was it was a couple of like amateurs that hired a professional ransomware group to like
Okay.
build them software or whatever
Right.
that then went into Colonial and ransomware them. So that Dark Trace, I believe, is the company, or maybe that's an actual company. I shouldn't say that, but anyway, it's some actual hacker group.
Okay.
And they take 15% of the profits, like the way that it's written, like 15% of the. That's why it's 85% of the ransom that was recovered. So, right, like the idiots, they get their 85%.
Yeah,
and the Fed
yeah,
sees that right away.
Right.
But the actual hacker group that knows what they're doing,
right,
that 15% is gone.
Right.
Like that's the way Bitcoin works, right? Like they're not getting that 15%.
Interesting. Back. Okay.
That's going to go into Tor. It's going to get traded among a bunch of other stuff. It's going to get turned into Bitcoin. That's going to hit like 100 exchanges.
So you just mentioned that you're not too into crypto, but as I'm talking to you, it sounds like you're getting into it more and more, right?
Well, yeah. So I was into it a lot. Like I know a lot about Bitcoin, right? Like I was into that early on. Of how
do you have any positions in Bitcoin?
So I mined my 2. I sold one at 1,000 when it was going up on the very first rise.
Okay.
I sold one at 1,500 right at the top of that very.
How long did it take you to mine those 2?
6 months.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
That's how early on it was, like 2010.
So let me ask you this. So you sat on 6 months. Wait, how long were you mining for? I mean, farming. Sorry. How long were you farming for Chia that you actually got the 2 coins?
Like 8 days.
Wow. I'm talking to the wrong person.
Well, and I know the math there. So like, this is the thing, right? So my Chia thing says I might win in 3 months.
Same here,
I expect it to be, and I expect it to be like more like 4 or 5 for me for my next win, right? Because I've got an early one. So it's not like it's 3 months from there. It's you have to divide from when you had that farm into 3-month blocks.
Understood.
And you're going to get one into, in that Poisson curve there.
I mean, logically, that's not real math. You can't predict those things.
Well, you can over enough time because there's so many events.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Because there's 5,000. So there's a couple of things at play here that I think make everybody's odds a little better. And I think that's why, like, we're still a month or 2 in, right? Like most people haven't even hit the middle of their 50%, like I should have won thing. And lots of people are winning. Right. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is the net space is total BS because it's growing so fast.
Correct.
The calculations that they're doing, they can't really keep track of it. No, it doesn't really make any sense. That's why it's like tip-topping up and down.
Right.
The second thing is because it's growing so fast, there are more challenges per day. So the difficulty isn't catching up as fast. So there's been about 5,000 challenges per day instead of 4,608. And that means that all of those numbers are like compressed. So people are getting really nervous about this number that the GUI is giving them instead of like really like sitting down and thinking about the math. So like, you've been farming for probably longer than I have, and you haven't like struck gold yet here.
But there's less than 2 months. Yeah.
So there's a pretty good chance like we could be talking here and you could have like clicked your thing over.
Yeah, I look at him every morning. I know,
man, every morning, and it's always the same. But the point is, like, it will eventually happen, right? If you just leave it alone, and if you left it alone and didn't look at it for a year, you would come back and there'd be like hopefully 4 or 6 Chia in there or something like that.
That would be nice. Yeah, that would be
nice. It's
considering if the price still holds or it goes back up to where it should be.
Well, I
shouldn't say should be, wherever it was.
That's right. And so, like I said, I've doubled my Chia that I had in my trading account over the past like couple of weeks. Just because like trading the drops, it's actually been fairly predictable. I've got a lot of thoughts about that too. But with the exchanges are doing, man, there's always like a 75 Chia order backstopping.
Anytime, and I just want to let you know, anytime I'm talking negative about Chia or I claim I think there's something up that's not right, I get a lot of kickback.
Oh man,
from the community,
because tons of kickback here.
It's like, oh man, you're all about the profits and you're all about. Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of why we're starting this, right? Why you're doing it
to run the network.
Exactly, the incentive to run the network and your incentive to keep on adding more to it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So my thing was like, if I won, I would have invested more, I would have bought more, and I would have definitely expanded out.
I chose not to. I'm like, I'm going to stake my claim and I'm going to sit here on this and then I'm going to let it run into the ground.
What do you think about the future and what they want to do with the whole IPO aspect of it? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I've got a lot of thoughts on that. So
what is the high level?
So I think they have a lot of work to do if they're going to run as a public company. I think that they want to get into the banking space, like sort of like as a central bank for this cryptocurrency, putting out like equity loans and things like that out of this pre-farm that they have, and, you know, acting as a money maker or a market maker.
Right.
And I think that if they're going to do that, they need to stop acting like a Silicon Valley startup.
Correct.
And they need to stop they need to, honestly, I'm in their Keybase channel. They need to get rid of that Keybase channel. Like they need to start.
Yeah. Same here.
You know what I mean?
Like I feel the same way.
Yeah, like they need to deal with the public through a PR lens.
It's very 1990s with that Keybase.
Yeah, and they're not like they've gotten to the place where they are right now with their culture, and it's time for like a radical culture change. And I think that's probably what they're undergoing.
Right.
That's a slow thing that doesn't happen overnight, but you know, they need to be able to sit down in a room with like JP Morgan and, you know, Chase Bank and Bank of America and stuff like that, and, you know, impress them.
Right.
And nothing that I've seen from them so far, like as a company, except for one thing, which is Gene Hoffman, is impressive that way. And Gene Hoffman is extremely impressive that way.
Right.
And I think that, you know, building a strategy and like Bram is super impressive if they could keep him on message, like ridiculously so. Like he's like, he's got the Mark Zuckerberg effect, except nobody hates him. Right. Like, you know, that like robot competent, like I'm going to solve this problem thing. And people don't think that problem is going to harm them yet.
So you don't think the IPO Chia business is going to affect the Chia crypto space? You don't think
I don't know enough about what their plans are. And so I would love to talk to them about that and find out what they plan on doing about that. I come from a different angle than a lot of crypto people. So that might be like, I have a lot of questions. Do you think
at this point in time, because of what you went through with them, that you would have an easier time transitioning into getting a talk with Gene Hoffman, or maybe
I think
even
that
Bram?
They would be nuts to sit down with me. But at the same time, I think it might be good for
I think
for
it
everybody.
Would be good.
Yeah, I think it would be good. But I don't think that they would want to do that. I think I embarrassed them a little bit. And like people don't like that, especially in Silicon Valley. Like
you know how I took it when I read your blog and I saw that lawsuit and it, you know, popped up in my morning feed. And I was like, this didn't leave a good like impression about Chia going after someone that was literally on that page is everything positive. You weren't talking shit about them.
No, not at all. I still haven't.
So I have no idea why that even was a thing to begin with, and why it was on the front page.
So I think that it's because it's the first thing that they did, right? Like as a company, that's not like a technical thing,
right?
And that they need to, you know, they need to have some positive PR here, right? Like some community outreach and not with me. Like, I think that's the wrong message too. Like, it's not a mea culpa or anything. It's like that. It's just you know, we actually want to interact with the community positively. They don't even have to say they made a mistake, but basically show that like, this was an error. This isn't our strategy. You know, like we're not trying to do this and we got caught or whatever. We literally made a mistake. And, you know, we don't want to do this. We want to do this other thing. And then they need to do the other thing, which is like talk to people like you know, like Bram's going on Son of a Tech Show and everything like that. Like, that's what they need to do. Which possibly better, but they need to do that.
Right. Because you had your own impressions of that.
Yeah.
And if you looked in his comments, there was a lot of impressions as well. Which wasn't
so a lot
good.
of people think this is a scam, and I do not think this is a scam. I have like looked at the technology and everything like that. And
do you think it's an unintentional scam?
No, I don't. I think that it is like anything else in Silicon Valley. It is a, you know, a cash cow. It's like the hot new thing. People are, you know, like jacked up about it. Their dev team are working like overnights trying to solve every problem. They're getting this pooling working. People are like harassing them over stuff. And
but
you know,
being a 2021, all right, we can't predict any further. But from 2013 or 2012, when all this existed, you didn't think pools was a thing from the very start?
So because of the math, like I think they thought people would understand the math a little better and like look at it more like a long-term thing.
Okay.
And then the price came out at 1,500 and started dropping. And people were like, I need to get in now and start like, you know, cashing out.
when the IOU came out and we were able to see these prices prior to it going live, right? It was like at 1,600. It hit it almost like.
So I don't know anything about this. I wasn't paying any attention.
So it went up to 1,900, right? It went really high.
Wow.
So do you think at that point, like that was early enough where people in the data centers that had control of the data centers to say, oh, we got to get this, and that what grew the network space to what it is now?
I don't know. Like I don't know how many people have a concept of how big an exabyte is, like, and like not in bits and bytes and stuff, but in metal and like physical space that it takes up. Right. Like you can fit about 10 petabytes, like super dense, expensive storage into a rack. Right. So to get like an exabyte, you need 100 racks of storage. Let me just 100 totally dense,
totally understand. Racks. I walked through a data center today.
Exactly.
With 500
it is mind-boggling to me. So
500 racks.
Yeah. Like, and it's like mind-boggling to me that like someone would have that much storage, right?
But
so
do
like,
I mean, we probably are in the same realm of things, and these data centers are holding on to servers that they don't want to decommission, right? And they know they're out of commission, they're not in production anymore, and we're just okay. Oh, look.
So there are no data centers that are doing this, but there are lots of data center admins. I think that's going to be my position on that. Right. That like there are nobody like this would affect SOC compliant, like, you know, SOC 2 compliance and stuff like that. Like this would wreck all of your compliances running this BitTorrent based cryptocurrency service with inbound connectivity. Like
depending on the corporation, depending on the company, it's not going to stop a LAN admin from having the server on the desk. Right.
I'm not going to say I don't know a lot about that. I'm just going to say that there are no businesses that are managing data centers, right? That own and manage a data center that would do that. Right. There are lots of people that are in charge of the data center.
Well, I'll give you a quick example. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big financial. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I've got a jet in a second too. So.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just going to finish this off. Yeah. No financial institution, but I know a lot of people in the digital editing, you know, and they have tons of space. I mean, they were talking about how Pixar and all these movie production, when they're off season, they have storage, they have space. They could utilize all that.
Those guys too. I just don't think it would be a corporate decision. I think it would be like
right.
I think it's just the network admin. And so like everything else in Bitcoin, people are saying that it's like these big data center operators that are getting rich. I'm like, no, man, it's the guy working for the big data center operator. Right. It's getting rich right now. He's going to quit soon. Right. So like, you know, he's going to get caught. So we're seeing these like big drops of net space and everything like that. Like these things are got to be going dark, like at a huge rate because people are getting caught or because they're just like a bunch of disks die in a shelf. And like, what are you going to do if you've like pulled out all the backup disks out of the, you know, out of whatever that you're not really supposed to be using, but you think are going to be fine. Right. You put them all into a table, in these like drive 45 bays or whatever. Yeah. And they shake themselves to death and you can't buy more. Right. Like these things are happening. Like, it's not like you're going to replace those. Right. So a lot of this is get in and get out. Like you say, like people that saw it at 1900 and they're pulling like 2 Chia every 25 minutes or something like that. Right. And those Chia are going straight into their exchange wallet, straight into Tether, straight into something else, and straight.
I mean, people are obviously selling off because that's how the price is coming. Tons. Right. Yeah, exactly. So from 1900 to what it is now, a lot of people sold off.
That's right. And
because
I haven't. Mine's held all in Chia. All my crypto.
I was fortunate enough to get one donation.
I saw. That's right. Yeah.
It was very generous of this person.
That is very generous.
And
it was donated when it was the most generous, from what I can tell. Pretty much like
it is a lot more than what it is now. Yeah, but it wasn't at the peak. Well, the offering was semi during that time. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Like, so this was a Chia that was in transit that this person
definitely, definitely,
like a good amount of money.
Exactly. So
that's a good donation. That's a good viewer.
I'm still gonna keep him anonymous because they chose to keep. So I just want to recap right now. So nothing came out of the legal issue. You're okay. Your lawyer's home sipping his wine or whatever. So you're good in that aspect. No more. Nothing is going to continue on from this point on.
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Your look into Chia, your involvement is still going to be on the Chia plot is still going to exist.
Oh man, people are sending me tips and stuff for investigative work. It's crazy.
You mean tip as in donations or
like
or
so one guy got like ripped off by chiadedicated.com or whatever.
Ooh,
and like
okay.
there's that, I've got evidence, I'm not just saying that on your thing, right? But like I posted he wanted to remain anonymous, but like he showed me all the evidence that he paid them in Bitcoin. And that
you mean like for plots and stuff for him?
Yeah, it's like a server rental service,
right.
So he had paid them for that, and there's like a setup fee and all this stuff. Ouch. And that they were supposed to give him the creds, and he never got the creds, and then they went dark.
Wow.
On him. And so he showed me all that info. I reached out to them for comment, and they never got back to me. And
Ooh, wow.
So yeah, it's getting in. So
okay, all right. So good. All right. So you're gonna keep on going, and you're gonna have all this. So whatever information. So are you planning to start your own YouTube channel?
I have one. I started.
You do have one.
A couple of.
In regards to Chia, or just.
I don't know, man. I'm a writer, I guess. Like,
okay, so you enjoy you
yeah.
enjoy the writing aspect of it, the
WordPress.
And
you're seeing me here. I'm pretty high energy and stuff like that, but I ramble and like I'm not.
I wanted to bring some entertainment value. I want to make you laugh because you look like.
This is good. You're.
Yeah. I want to, I was gonna like ask you, like, do you want to have a beer together or something?
Sure. You're out west, eh?
I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York.
I'm in New York. So I'm literally, you said you're on the East Coast, right? You're in Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm literally like,
I not go to New York. I'm not that fancy, but I've been to New York.
I drive to Montreal, which takes me about 6 hours.
So if you go to Montreal, we're like an hour and a half south of there.
Oh, okay. So closer to Niagara Falls then?
No, like right in the middle. So I'm in Ottawa.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I'm like 45 minutes from the border in New York State.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh, you're close. Yeah.
Like right near Buffalo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah. So I want to. All right. We'll wrap up since you have to get going. I do want to have more talks with you in regards.
Yeah, this is awesome
because
I really appreciate this.
I enjoy this conversation. It's hard to find people to kind of communicate with. If I talk bad about it, I'm gonna start getting a lot of kickback, right? But sometimes I don't even care. You know what I mean? Like.
There are some negatives, and I would love to talk to you about like the negatives I see. Like I mentioned it, like data center operators from having a BitTorrent style network.
Correct.
Did you know that there are 20 times as many nodes for Chia as there are for Bitcoin and Ethereum combined?
Wow. I guess because it's so easier. It's
so
easier
easy.
to do.
So everybody's got these open ports running this network.
You got these Windows GUI application where most corporate offices are running
totally
Windows.
Different, man. Yeah, and it's so interesting because of that. So yeah, like all the good and the bad.
Hey, before we go, I know we're getting into this whole BitTorrent aspect of it. I know Bram left BitTorrent, and he has no association with what BitTorrent attempted to do with the whole mining crypto behind your back when you download.
Did they do that? I didn't even know about that. That makes
All right, so I'll send you like I think that's something.
Send me a link with that. That's fascinating.
We could pick up on that and we can talk more about it.
I went all my BitTorrent experiences, all the open source side, so not the Windows side. Yeah, got
it. All right,
that's crazy. That makes me feel good about that decision. Thanks a lot, man.
Chris, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, man.
Nice to talk to you. Bye.
All right, bye.